Making things work with your writing diary when at times they aren't going to work is pretty simple. It really comes down to saying, today I'm going to write. It might be 100 words, it might be 500, but getting your backside in the chair and getting to a coffee shop or sitting at your desk like I am right now on a dark, rainy night is what you need to do. I went out to the coffee shop today at 2 o'clock and came back at 5, and I really cracked some of the things that I had been worrying about for much of this week. Where does my story go? How do I show the reader what's really going on inside the head of my character? How do I connect the details of a particular post-mortem of 2 victims, I nearly said dos víctimas, of 2 victims? How do I connect that post-mortem with some information being found that turns some of the detective's expectations and certainly his assumptions, it turns them on their head? I needed to find out about that. When he has finished his work environment and his day shift and he comes back to his apartment, what do we learn about him from that process? I'm not trying to do a deep, in-depth psychological, it's been a long day, psychological analysis for the story, but what I am trying to do is put myself in the shoes of 3 or 4 readers that I have in mind. I have some little images in mind when I write this story, and it's the 4 people that I'm actually aiming the story at so they can grasp it, understand it, and work with the themes of the story without me having to be too intricate and go into some kind of deep literary concepts. No, I'm trying to write detective fiction that is 1 or possibly 2 levels above cozy mystery, but it's not all blood and gore and shock. It's using crime fiction to portray some perspectives of Mexico to a reader, and readers in this case, who haven't been here. So today I was able to go to the coffee shop. I took my Alpha Smart Neo. I didn't take my laptop because I didn't want to get distracted by any level of internet activity or email notifications or social media things that go beep and whistle and call for my attention. I didn't want any of that. So I took this particular bag with a physical manuscript in it, the existing manuscript, and I had a look at all the places where I am stuck as the writer. I also took one of my popular to me, Scribe spiral bound notebooks so that I could make some notes as we went along, and I took my A5 hardback moleskin lined notebook to summarize the things that I was writing, so that as I put my ideas into my Alpha Smart Neo, I could then, between sips of coffee, think, right, these are the themes that I need to deal with. And there were 6 things that I identified. And now that I know what those are, I feel so much more confident with moving the story forward, because what I'm missing is the interconnected ideas or events that allow my detective to have those aha moments and see himself move from 1 or 2 pieces of information that seem at first sight logical and practical, but actually I need to give them some deeper meaning or significance, or to embed further clues in the story so that he naturally knows which door to open, what phone calls to make, where to send some of his team for further investigations and questioning of potential, let's call them suspects at this stage, but they may have been witnesses in the initial settings of the story. But having those 3 hours in the coffee shop today has really allowed me, sorry, that light's just gone really bright. Having those messages in the story today has allowed me to make progress in a way that I think is serving me very positively for where I can develop the story. If I hadn't gone out today, I think I would have struggled. I think I would have said to myself, oh, it's been a waste of a day. I haven't done the things I wanted to do. But by taking my time, and also by taking myself physically out of my home environment where I have got a mobile phone, where I have got an iPad, where I have got the MacBook, I've been able to separate myself and daily life from the need, from the desperate requirement to move the story forward. That's why I'm here, to give myself time to find answers to some of the questions that I think need to be resolved in the book. But I found 6 things in total, and by giving my attention to those today, I think I've done really well with the story. Have a think about what it is that you're working on, your WIP or work in progress as an author, as a writer, as somebody who might be doing fiction, or what are the things that you sense are missing in the way that you are bringing your written project together? And I say written project because, like I've said, it could be fiction or non-fiction. What can you do, and where can you look within the work that you're doing at the moment to say, this is weak, this is missing something. What can I create or put into such and such a place? Whether it's jotting down some ideas on Post-it notes or index cards or the back of postcards, or using something like, a very standard notebook. This is a Wilder A6. It's a beautiful book. Very happy to have it. It's got nice, clean, fountain pen friendly pages. But what can you do with what you know is missing in your project? That's why I needed to go out today. I wasn't sure whether it would be 2 hours or 3 hours, but at least I was able to make significant progress by going out into the coffee shop and making the notes that I needed to make. I don't know whether you can hear this whistling. It's a bizarre situation where every 30 minutes, one of the guards will cycle around all the streets in the neighbourhood with a whistle and constantly blow the whistle. That does several things. It says, I am here, I am monitoring your street, I'm looking out for people or vehicles who don't belong in the neighbourhood. But it goes on till about 3 in the morning. And it's also a little interruption for yours truly, recording a video. Now I'm sure you can hear that whistling. Just one of those quirky little things. And of course, in looking at the 5th of the 6 items I was looking at, I was concerned with trying to explain the nature of the private life of my senior detective, so that when he's not in the police station, when he's not out on calls or door knocking or interviewing persons of interest, he's at home in his apartment, and the sorts of things that I've just referred to with the person running or cycling around the estate with a whistle. 10 minutes earlier, it was a bicycle and a man singing about his wares, a big basket balanced or fixed actually on his handlebars, filled with beautiful breads that people have with their evening coffees, cycling around with a microphone announcing what he has for sale and that he's available. All you need to do is open the door and he can sell to you straight away. It's these little quirky aspects of life in Mexico City that I'm making sure are part of the story, just as much as the elements of crime or robbery or murder or corruption that feed into the different stories in this 3-book series. That's been my day. What have you been up to? What can you do to strengthen your story by giving yourself time to confront head on the areas where you know your story is a little bit weak, somewhat uneven, where you know there are gaps in connecting your reader from chapter 3 to chapter 5 or 6 or 7. There is something missing, and I don't just mean chapter 4. I mean some of those little breadcrumbs that we put into our stories that will later make sense, and also mean that when the reader chances upon a scene or something happening later in the book, they can subtly reference back to the fact, yes, this needed to be dealt with for the story to have fullness and depth to it without the complexity being overwhelmed by missing details and forgotten content. So that's been my day.